I want to help you understand that there's 3 specific areas in the greater Denver area that are absolutely changing before our eyes. And it's not the headlines and it's not the big stadium districts. There are 3 areas that have completely transformed and changed the neighborhoods around it. Hey, I'm Jeremy Kane. I work across Denver Metro and Northern Colorado as an active agent, which means I'm in these areas constantly, not just reading about them. And right now, homes are sitting on the market longer, and Denver's luxury segment has given back a significant chunk of its pandemic era run-up. Those numbers are real, but here's what they don't tell you. At the exact same time that the broader market is cooling, specific corridors across Metro and Northern Colorado are receiving major committed infrastructure-backed investments. We're talking master plan communities breaking ground, mixed-use districts going vertical, and transit-connected neighborhoods being built from the foundation up. The macro numbers tell one story. The street-level story is more complicated and, frankly, more interesting. Today, I'm walking through 3 of these corridors. I'm going to show you what exists today, what's under construction, and what the finished vision looks like. And critically, what it actually means if you're thinking about buying or selling, or just understanding where your home sits relative to all of this growth. So the question is, does all of this development make it a place you want to be in 5 years, or have you already missed it? That answer is not as simple as the headlines make it sound. In the next 8 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what is happening street by street in Denver's biggest new development zones right now. Corridor stop 1, RiNo, expansion zone. We're in the RiNo expansion zone, and specifically, I want to talk to you about what's happening on the northern edges of this district, because the core of RiNo gets all the press, but the real action right now is in the blocks pushing north toward I-70 and east toward Cole and Elyria, Swansea. What we're looking at here is a dense mixed-use development, ground floor retail with residential above, creating office space, and a significant amount of market rate and affordable residential product, either permitted, under construction, or recently delivered. The buyer and renter profile this corridor is built for is pretty clear. When you walk it, young professionals, creative industry workers, people who want to be within short ride of downtown but don't want to pay downtown prices for a box. The lifestyle infrastructure signals here are strong. You've got the 38th and Blake commuter rail station that's not a promise, that's operating right now. The Platte River Trail System connects south. There are street level activations happening, breweries, food, halls, fitness studios. That signals long-term commercial commitment, not just a speculative build-out. When this northern RiNo corridor is fully built out, someone living there will be able to walk to a coffee shop, a restaurant, be on the light rail to Union Station in under 10 minutes, and bike to the Platte Trail system without ever touching a car. That's not a vision I'm inventing. That's the infrastructure that's already in the ground. Now, the honest framing, this is not an undiscovered corridor. The earliest movers here have been here for a decade. What's happening now is the densification and the residential infill catching up to the commercial story. The question I ask clients about this area is, are you buying the lifestyle that already exists, or are you betting on specific block that hasn't activated yet? Those are 2 very different purchases, and I want anyone thinking about this area to know the differences before they make a decision. So reach out. I'm always here to chat. Now let's head north to Thornton and the Northgate corridor. And this is a completely different energy than RiNo, intentionally so. What you're looking at here is large-scale suburban master plan development. We're talking thousands of planned units across multiple builder phases. New school sites, either under construction or permitted, park and trail infrastructure being installed as the phases go in, and retail pads being graded at the major intersections. The buyer profile here is also distinctly different from RiNo. This corridor is designed for large groups of people who want new construction, more square footage, a more suburban lifestyle with longer term appreciation runway without paying the premiums of established South Denver suburbs. The infrastructure commitment signals I look for in a corridor like this are the roads being widened, is the school district actively planning for capacity, are regional retailers, not just local operators, starting to sign leases. In this corridor, the answer to all 3 of these is yes. And that matters to me as an analyst of where growth is actually going versus where it's being marketed. Now, I want to be direct about the trade-off conversation because I have it with every single client who's looking at an active construction corridor like this one. Living adjacent to an active construction site has real short-term friction, noise, construction traffic, amenities that are shown in the site plan but aren't built yet. Model homes that look finished, surrounded by blocks that won't be completed for 2 or 3 more years. That is the reality, and I don't think glossing over it serves anyone. Here's how I help clients think through it. What is your actual timeline? If you're buying here and you plan to be in your home for 7 to 10 years, the short-term construction friction likely resolves well before you're ready to make your next move. If you're buying here with a 3-year horizon, you need to understand what the competitive inventory picture looks like at exit. Because in a corridor like this, you may be selling into a market that has added significant new construction inventory since you bought. That conversation about timeline is not optional. It's the first thing we need to talk about. Now let's head all the way north to my favorite, NoCo. This is a third stop, and I want to flag this one explicitly. This is the earliest stage of the 3 corridors I'm showing you today. More uncertainty, more potential transformation, and that combination deserves a different kind of conversation. Some of this may be raw land, early foundation work on the first phase planning and zoning signage. You can see the vision on the entitlement documents, but standing here right now, you have to hold both realities simultaneously. What this is today and what the infrastructure commitments suggest it could be. Here's the analytical framework I use for clients on early stage corridors. First question, what infrastructure is already locked in? Meaning funded, permitted, or under contract, not just planned. Road improvements, utility extensions, school district capacity agreements. These are commitments that are harder to reverse than a developer's marketing brochure. Second question, what is the zoning story? Has the entitlement process gone through, or is it still speculative? Approved zoning is a meaningful signal. It's not a guarantee of a build-out timeline, but it tells you the political and regulatory path has been cleared. The third question, what comparable corridors in Denver's and Colorado's history look like this before they were transformed? And what was the common thread in the ones that actually delivered? I'll tell you the pattern I've observed. Corridors that delivered on their promise almost always had a combination of anchored institutional investment, a hospital, a university campus, a regional employer, and genuine transit or road infrastructure that made the location functional, not just aspirational. So I'm not telling you that this is the right play for you. What I'm telling you is that this is how I evaluate it. And this is the conversation I want to have with any client who is curious about what Northern Colorado's next chapter looks like. The risk profile here is higher than the other 2 corridors I've shown. The potential lifestyle transformation is also higher. Those 2 things are connected, and anyone who tells you otherwise isn't giving you the full picture. What this means for buyers and sellers right now. All right, let me step out of tour mode for a minute and talk to you directly about what all this actually means if you're making a real decision right now. First, the broader context. Colorado's statewide average home price came in at $548,191 in April of 2026, down about 2% year over year. Homes are averaging 47 days on market, as we've talked about. And then we dive into the luxury that isn't necessarily the big picture about what we're talking about. That's a different zone. Meaning the dramatic run-up of 2022 has substantially corrected in certain segments of our market. Those are real numbers, and I'm not going to spin them. What they tell me combined with what I'm seeing on the ground in these development corridors is that this is a market where the answer genuinely depends on the specific block, the specific product, and the specific timeline. But also, what is there historically? You're seeing towns like Windsor, which were built out a little bit based around one grocery store in an old town, kind of setup that is further along. But when you add all the infrastructures of nearby Severance and Tenmouth and all of these places, how is the population growth going to be supported? For buyers, new development corridors are adding inventory and adding choices, which is consistent with what you're seeing across Colorado broadly. Longer days on market and more competition among listings means buyers in these areas may have more negotiating room than they did 2 or 3 years ago. Not to mention, new construction is offering really good incentives right now. That's real leverage. But, and this is the part that I think gets skipped, more choices means more decisions that require analysis, not just enthusiasm. The gap between buying the right product in the right phase of a corridor and buying the wrong product at the wrong stage is significant. For sellers who are in or adjacent to these corridors, Proximity to major new development genuinely cuts both ways. New amenities, trail connections, activated retail. Those things lift appeal and tell a story that buyers respond to. But an influx of new construction inventory also creates direct competition that didn't exist when you bought. New construction has showrooms, builder incentives, warranty packages, and marketing machine behind it. If you're selling a resale home, a corridor where new construction is actively delivering, your strategy has to account for the competition head on. Your strategy in 2026 in these corridors has to be precise. I don't believe in a one-size-fits-all advice here. The specific block, the specific phase of development, and your specific timeline all matter. Anyone who gives you a blanket answer about whether new developments or corridors are good or bad for your situation isn't doing the actual work. 3 corridors, 3 takeaways. RiNo expansion zone. The lifestyle infrastructure is real and operational. The question for buyers here is whether you're buying an existing, activated lifestyle or betting on specific block that hasn't arrived yet. Those are different purchases with different risk profiles. And I want you to know which one you're making. Thornton and Northgate corridor, large scale, large group oriented, master plan developments with strong infrastructure signals, the honest trade-off in short-term construction friction against a long-term vision that requires your timeline to be long enough to benefit from it. If your horizon is 3 years or less, we need to have very specific conversations about exit inventory before you commit. Northern Colorado, the earliest stage of these zones, the highest uncertainty, the highest potential transformation. The framework isn't about enthusiasm for vision. It's about what's already locked in, funded infrastructure, approved zoning, anchored institutional investments. If these boxes are checked, the conversation gets interesting. If they're not, you're pricing in someone else's optimism. Across all 3, the broader Colorado market softening that the data shows is real, and it's happening at the same time as targeted, committed development investment in specific corridors. These 2 things coexist, and the only way to navigate that, honestly, is at the street level with someone who actually is in these markets. So your next step, let's talk. Let's have a conversation, talk about your situation, your timeline, your goals, and we can create a vision unique to you. If any of these corridors are on your radar, whether you're thinking about buying into one, selling near one, or just want to understand what your current home's position looks like in the context of all the growth, let's have that conversation. This isn't automated. It's not one size fits all. It's a real strategy conversation built around your actual goals. I work across Denver and Northern Colorado, and I'm in these neighborhoods constantly. I'm happy to walk through any of this with you. Reach out to me directly at 303-543-1453. And if this video gave you something useful, hit subscribe. I put content out like this regularly because I think it deserves a ground level view of what's actually happening in this market. So much so that I've created a new YouTube channel called What's Happening in Denver for homeowners specifically to understand what all this development is. We go into major commercial projects and all the like, not just the headline numbers. I'll see you on the next one.